This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to World Pro Racing here on TVM Sport in Malta, Esports TV and Motorsport.tv. First of all, we'd like to thank Melita, who are powering this stream. Visit malta.com, Gaming Malta and HyperX. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, back once again after my last-minute substitution for the event at Misano, but I'm pleased to welcome alongside me in the virtual commentary box, Nicholas Hillepand. Good evening, Nicholas. How are you?
Thanks for the warm welcome, Alex. I'm doing fantastic. I hope you are doing well as well. And of course, that the same goes for our viewers too.
Yes, hopefully with these very difficult times, we hope you're all keeping safe and sound out there. Of course, we are streaming not just on the relevant channels that I've just mentioned, but also officially on Facebook Live, Twitch and YouTube. And we head to Autodromo Nazionale di Monza for this week's GT3 casual race. Nicholas, firstly, from a driver's perspective, a track that is pretty much full throttle all the way through.
Yes, it's definitely an interesting track to race GT3 cars at. There's definitely the biggest part of it is the straights, but of course for the remainder of the couple corners that we do have, the Lesmos, Ascari, Parabolica, you still need a bit of downforce, of course. And with cars with very limited downforce like GT3 cars, I'm sure that we're going to have a very interesting race today.
With speeds approaching in excess of 270 kilometers per hour, heading into the deep braking zone into the Rettifilo off of the main straightaway, it is going to be rather exciting. And at the moment with the casual races, Jan-Niklas Ebrich has actually won the last two rounds, both at Brands Hatch and last week at Misano. Luke Whitehead made it a Lexus 1-2 ahead of Simon Speth, with Yannick Huoff and Sergio Mendes rounding out the top five. But Sheldon Muscat came a bit unstuck with around 20 minutes or so of the race remaining when they headed into Variante del Parco. But still, Niklas, in terms of the cars that we've got on the grid this evening, I think the Mercedes is going to have the advantage in the straight lines, but then there's going to be certain cars on the grid that are going to have that deep braking advantage into certain parts on the circuit.
Yeah, the Mercedes is definitely a very strong contender here. With a short sprint race, of course, they also don't have to fuel save whatsoever, so they will definitely be a threat to other participants in the straights. But the Ferrari as well, an Italian car, Italian home ground, it's going to be very strong. And I think if they can keep up in the slipstream, they have a bit better brakes. And for example, the Porsche as well, fantastic on the brakes. I think they can edge out a bit of an advantage there if they play their cards right.
So we're going to get underway with qualifying very, very shortly. A 15-minute qualification session. Well, 15 minutes free practice, my apologies. 15 minutes qualifying and then a half-hour sprint race around the 5.793-kilometre circuit. And here we are, as we've got Marek Vons in the TPC Sim Racing 91 BMW M6. Another car here, Nicholas, that could really prove to be very, very competitive. 4.4-litre M-Power twin-turbo V8, actually derived from the road car itself, as some drivers making their way onto the circuit. We see a wild Jaguar, a very brightly coloured Jaguar XKRS GT3, another car with a lot of horsepower under the bonnet. But it's very difficult going into the Rettifilio because I've seen it before in other competitions where drivers have been sort of straight lining the Rettifilio and it hasn't really worked out the best for them, has it?
Yeah, definitely not. Getting the braking right for the Rettifilio, especially when you're just approaching with slipstream at over 280. I would imagine that the Jaguar could also maybe reach that speed by itself. But yeah, you have to just get your braking absolutely right. If you get it a little bit too late, you just go straight on. And if you go a little bit too early, it's very, very easy to just turn in too early because you're just trying to get in, of course, as early as possible into the Rettifilio.
So we have the likes of Muscat, Max Vathel, who is on your screens at the moment in the number 7 Lexus RCF GT3. Vons, Matrus, Speth, who finished in the top 3 last time. Keep your eyes out for the likes of Sergio Mendes, Luke Whitehead, who is sticking to the tried and tested Lexus that served him well at Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli last week. Kasisalu, the number 88 from Estonia, rounds out the is in the pits at the moment. Kasisalu didn't have really a race to remember last time at Misano, having had a drive-through penalty through contact, but Kasisalu now comes out onto the circuit. And Nicholas, there's a lot of overtaking opportunities. I've seen moves going into the 2 Lesmos after Della Roggia. As we've had one of the Ferraris on home soil spinning in front of the virtual Tifosi. I don't think the red flares will be going up for that one.
Yeah, it's not ideal, to say the least, to have a moment like that. But of course, you'd rather have it in practice instead of qualifying or, of course, in the race. So, better get that out of your system now. Get that out of the system when it's still practice, of course, and also practice getting out of the way because you're just completely in the way at the exit of the Rettifilio.
So, Marcisia, Michael Marcisia in the number 27 Ferrari. Lovely sound of the that pedigree racehorse. That has had, there is an update, I think, if memory serves me correctly, Nicholas, that Assetto Corsa Competizione has a new addition, I think, to its DLC. But it's going to be rather interesting. The cars will be tested to the absolute limit. And drivers going into the Rettifilio when we go green for 30 minutes of racing at just after 9 o'clock Central European time this evening, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, especially when you've got 30 plus GT3 cars heading down to the first chicane, absolutely pedal to the metal. Yeah,
definitely. And this is just one of these classic first corners where you're basically doing 3 Hail Marys before you actually get to the braking point, just so no one hits you from behind or just so you don't hit someone while braking. But yeah, as you said, soon we're going to get 2 new additions as cars, the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo and, of course, as you mentioned, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. Both very nice additions in the new 2020 season DLC. And, of course, we're going to get another Italian track here. Very, very famous, of course, Imola.
Yes, Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. I have to get my pronunciation on point. I mean, being a multilingual commentator and having to deal with multilingual names, you have to learn very, very quickly. And I've learned that over the last few years. But there's Kun Sabo in the number 12 Lexus. Some drivers opting for bright liveries, others going for that bit of that stealth look, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it could also be that he's in a fully custom livery that, of course, doesn't load in if not all people have that implemented yet. But yeah, either way, the stealth black in carbon fiber, it looks generally just very good on that Lexus.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old Super GTs when they brought out the Class 1 regulations and the cars looked absolutely epic in just bare carbon fibre. But even so, you know, they're still lightweight power horses in their own right. We've got an absolute cavalcade of colour. There's Michael Martin in the number 24 Jaguar. He's running in 16th position at the moment. Some drivers, such as Yamzran Kasisalu, Morgan, you know, running out the top 12 positions. But Sheldon Muscat, who really was the one that put it on pole position, someone's absolutely straight-lined it there. That's heading into the Ascari chicane. Sheldon Muscat, when I spoke to him in the post-race interviews after Misano, he said that my tyres were quite literally hanging on for dear life towards the end, and both Whitehead and Ebrich managed to get past him at exactly the same points on the circuit. So 11 minutes and 20 seconds still to go, and at the moment it is 4 different brands in the top 5, make that 5 in the top 7, make that 8 even. So it's Muscat from Vons, Waffel, Matrus, Ciesa, Mendes, who's switched to the Lamborghini for this round. Whitehead, Simon Speth has also switched he's now switched to the Huracan GT3 Evo. He rounds out the top 8 positions. So great to see not just Ferrari on the grid here, but also Lamborghini, Nicholas.
Yeah, it's definitely fantastic to see a great variety of cars. Recently, of course, they have brought out a BOP patch as well, which actually, on a lot of tracks, it actually brought the field a lot closer together. Hence why we can see, like in second place with Vons, with the BMW now being up there, the car got a lot more competitive, and that's of course, as a racing fan, with you know, the great variety that GT3 has to offer, it's just absolutely fantastic to see. And I also think we have in 5th place, if I'm not mistaken, that should be Michael Mercier. So normally he is in GT Sport, so he's also switching it up now, coming from GT Sport, from PlayStation, of course, here to PC, to Assetto Corsa Competizione. But that jump, of course, it doesn't seem to affect him all too much. He's driving at the front in GT Sport, and he's quite close to the front here in ACC as well.
Yeah, running at a 1:48.0 second lap time, and that's pretty good around here at Monza. And looked for a dive up the inside of the Parabolica there, did the 27. And just seeing the varying lines, I mean, Mikhail's gone very, very wide coming out of the Parabolica, but that's to cut through and cut across the track in order to carry the momentum. And you can just see how hard the number 27 Ferrari is pushing. He's now gone up into 6th gear. This is going to be literally, as you said, Nicholas, the 3 Hail Marys, like 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And the number 27 stops it in time for the Rettifilio and goes up the inside of the other Ferrari, whereas the pink Jaguar has straight-lined the Rettifilio.
Yeah, and you could really see the different approaches there. I think you could even see it on Mecheka's car there for a second. He hit the inside sausage curb a little bit, so that is really the big difficulty when you're taking the Rettifilio, because you want to try be on the inside, you want to try get the most momentum through the second part of it, so approach it from as far right possible. But if you just go a bit too far right on the first apex, you hit the sausage curb, and well, I think I speak for everyone who's ever watched anything remotely with racing. Sausage curbs don't really do too much for your momentum through a corner.
Yeah, I mean, because literally that can stop you dead in your tracks. I mean, forget having to put on the anchors there, Nicholas, but, you hit a sausage curb hard enough, you can either do one or two things. Slow the momentum out, and I think it's just a case that you'll either do one or two things. You'll either be able to brake the car with a bit of assistance, or you're gonna literally spin the back end out because the car will rotate unnecessarily, and then it'll pitch it into a spin, and before you know it, oh, I'm heading towards the barrier.
Yeah, that is just the big difficulty with these sausage curbs here. It's sort of, you don't want to touch them completely. So in a mental state, you sort of have to think of it, especially since it's such a tight chicane anyway. And that is, that is an anti-cut there at Parabolica. Luckily, Marco Piardi is in a Bentley and not in a Formula 3 car, otherwise that could have looked very different.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of an ADAC Formula 4 race I saw a couple of years ago at the Hockenheimring, and it's an F3 race, and someone decided to go, I think it was at the far part of the circuit, heading towards the latter part of it, and the car literally went over the sausage curbs, and the front end literally did like a drag race, went up in the air, came down hard, and the driver got away with it very, very lightly indeed. I think just a bit bumped and bruised.
Yeah, it's of course, there's always risks, but with these curbs and these situations, they always just catch you off guard. So they're just basically perfect, live crash tests to show off the safety of these modern racing vehicles.
Well, at least in this respect, with regards to the sim racing world, you don't have to worry about actual invoices being sent to you directly via the teams. You can just sort of go Control Alt Delete and reset and go, oh, that's better. So we're coming up to just over the 6-minute mark remaining, as we've got a brief yellow flag out here at Monza. Plivac in the number 6, running in the black Falcon livery. A team very well known in Mercedes-AMG customer racing circles. Sergio Mendes in the Lamborghini, now running in 3rd place behind Sheldon Muscat and Vons in the 91 BMW. Lamborghini looks really, really settled around here, doesn't it?
Yeah, generally it's one of the cars that is, I like to sometimes call it, for tracks like this, for example, with overall the setup work you have to put in and the aero balance you can drive, it's sort of the better Audi, because of course the base is still the same, but the setup options that you have in the Lamborghini are quite a lot different compared to the Audi, as we see a little bit of a car sideways back there as well.
Yeah, I think definitely that driver is probably thinking that as Aquilina in the number 21 Ferrari, running at the top 25, so we've got 30 cars. Before I forget, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to check out this coming Thursday, as we'll have the GT3 Gran Turismo Dragon Tail casual race on Thursday evening, and then we start with the first of 5 rounds for the World Pro Racing ACC Sprint Series, coming this Friday evening at 20:30 Central European Time. And the first of 5 rounds will start at the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone. That's looking rather exciting. The GT3 casual race on Thursday is a sellout. The WR Sprint Series ACC is also a sellout. And that's really good to see the community thriving here on World Pro Racing. Don't forget to head to worldproracing.com to get involved. We run casual races like we're doing tonight here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2, Gran Turismo Sports. You can register via our official website, and there's plenty of action to keep you entertained over the next few weeks, and we run both on PC and PS4, so why not join us? Another yellow flag out there briefly, but we've got the number 17 Ferrari of Jamsaran in 14th position. There is Sheldon Muscat, the man that really tried to steal the thunder of Jan-Niklas Ebrich last time out at Misano. He put it on pole position, but Ebrich managed to get the better of the GT Omega RPM esports driver in the number 14. But again, this Mercedes, bit of a moment there into the second Lesmo. Poor Sheldon Muscat, and thank goodness he's getting those errors out of the way early.
Yeah, definitely. Just no matter what car you drive, the Lesmo, especially the second one, it's a very difficult corner to get right completely, especially when you're pushing on the limit. I saw his fastest lap was a 47.4, so already quite fast. From experience, I can say that is definitely not an easy lap time to get.
Right, we're going to go on board with Sheldon Muscat, up to 4th now, hitting the rev limiter, around 2:38, possibly more than that. Well, he's just backed off of that lap there, just waiting to get a little bit of clean air, and just putting some heats into the tyres and into the brakes. Someone's had a bit of a moment going into the entrance for the Parabolica. Now we go up the gears, up to 4th at around 200 kph, heading towards the start-finish line. Now let's just keep on board with Sheldon at the moment. Let's see what his VMAX is heading into the braking zone for the Rettifiglio. Now he's up to 6th gear. Wait for it. 276 kilometers an hour, all the way down to 1st gear at around 75 kilometers per hour through the Rettifiglio. That was a true test of bravery there, Nicholas.
Yeah, that is the real, I'd say, magic about Monza, because you never really have a light braking zone, except for, maybe the Lesmo and Ascari a little bit. But it's always this start-stop nature. You're always at insanely high speeds, especially after Curva Grande here and then through Rogier as well. You're just always over 250 kilometers an hour and then hard on the brakes. And in the real car, of course, you feel the G-forces, and here you don't feel the G-forces, but you feel the fear of overshooting, of hitting the curb wrong.
Yeah, it's a bit sideways. The left-hand side of the rear axle brakes traction on the number 14 of Muscat, but he's definitely putting the pedal to the metal as we're going to go under the bridge that leads to the Ascari chicane. Drops down 3 gears from 5th to 2nd and absolutely wallops the sausage curbs. And you could just tell by the way he was pushing there, Nicholas, that he was going for an absolute blinder of a lap. Here's Mikhail in the number 27 Ferrari. His best lap of 1 minute 48.042 that puts him 7th. And now we have 2 Mercedes in the top 5. Plivac rounds out the top 5. Matarus, then we've got the number 27 of Mikhail in the Ferrari. Luke Whitehead with Simon Smith and looks like Tosato in the number 563 rounds out the top 10. So a whole host of manufacturers. Good to see Tom Otti. He was running in the McLaren 720S last time out. He's switched to Falterbach's Finest. And he's running in a very, very nice sort of gold-esque colour that you would probably see on a road-going version of this vehicle in Germany.
Yeah, most definitely. But just generally, these livery editor liveries, they're also just generally always very nice to look at, especially Michael Martin here with that wonderful Jag. One of the few paint schemes that you can create, but of course very iconic from the old GT2 days when this XKR was driving in there, with the British Racing Green and the white Jaguar back then.
Yeah, this car was actually produced as a GT3 entrant by Emil Frey Racing, who then decided to turn their hands to becoming a Works Lexus outfit, as there's Jan Rilla in the number 333 running in the Rinaldi Racing colours. Another team that has been known within sports car racing. And that is it for the session here at Free Practice at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. But Nicholas, just give us your thoughts. I mean, a very, very competitive session. We go into qualifying very shortly. I think Muscat could really go for it and get a second successive pole position here this evening after what he did in Misano last week.
Well, the Mercedes is a strong car here, and Sheldon really seems to know how to move that car to go fast. So we saw how he can push on the limit already. We saw how he can push it a little bit over the limit, but if he gets that lap together perfectly, I think there's going to be a little standing between him and that pole position. What I'm really excited about, though, is just behind him, of course, we saw a 1:48.0 from Mikhail, and behind that, it was literally just a thing of a few thousands of a few hundreds. And I think within, 2/10, we had the next 5, 6, 7 positions. So I think that is going to be one of the very big, interesting things to look at in qualifying, besides, of course, how fast Sheldon can go.
Yeah, I mean, if you can put it on the anchors from 6th at 276 on the speedo all the way down to, a decrease of 200 kilometers an hour within 100 meters, all the way down the gearbox. That is where I think the biggest difference is going to be between those that are really going to push it in qualifying. But then, you see that the Lamborghinis are in the top 10. We've got a couple of Ferraris in there as well. Don't count out Luke Whitehead. I mean, he qualified P8 last week, but he has got pace in that car. He knows how to use the Lexus. And I think that could be a little bit of a dark horse if it goes well for Luke Whitehead this time around.
Most definitely. We saw how Sheldon Muscat was struggling a little bit with cornering grip out of the second Lesmo, but in the Lexus, sorry, not the Bentley, in the Lexus, that is very far less likely to happen because that Lexus has an insanely long wheelbase, big naturally aspirated V8, of course, in the front as well, and Whitehead has shown again and again that he can also really move that car well. So I think if he just puts it in the right place for the right moments, he can also qualify quite far up the top.
So we're now underway with qualifying for the GT3 casual race here on World Pro Racing at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Originally opened on the 15th of May 1922 with around 3,500 construction workers helping to build what has become an icon within motorsport folklore. Marek Vons making his way through the Ascari chicane. BMW power well and truly out on the circuit at the moment. Great aerial shot from our broadcast crew here. So a whole host of manufacturers. So BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Jaguar, Lexus, Bentley, amongst others. And Marek Vons looking to try and strike early whilst the iron's hot. And puts in, well, that's an outlap at the moment. So Vons now, Nicholas, let's just go on board and just take us through how committed you really have to be here at Monza.
I actually see him approaching 278 by himself there. So the BMW really one of the strong cars on the straight. You really have to take all of the curb here because, of course, you want to maximize the road you use. You want to maximize the line you can take because that gives you just more speed. Stay inside here now, of course, Curva Grande, it's flat out, no problem. And next we're approaching Variante della Roggia, just at 150, a bit later even than that, braking for this. And that is a little bit too deep in, because you want to, of course, enter it quickly, but enter it a bit too quickly and you will face that fifth turn inside sausage curb. Now, first of the Lesmos, this is a bit easier because a bit of an open angle, or well, a bit longer radius. And now the second one, very tricky. It's sort of on camber, but then the inside curb, of course, throws you off as well. Then we go through Seraglio, and now underneath the beautiful old oval, making our way towards Ascari now. Once again, very fast, just behind that right side orange marshal's post marking. Making it through there down to third and then up to fourth gear just before going to the last apex, and of course taking all the space on the outside again. And now up to sixth gear once more. I think he would reach around 265, yeah, 268, 269 even. Third gear, and that is just, yeah, the BMW definitely got quite a lot of power in that last VOP update. And up to fifth gear before the line, and that is a 48.357.
Pretty good lap there from Marek Vons. That puts him as the benchmark here at Monza as we have just 11 minutes to go in qualification. Sergio Mendes currently in the pits at the moment. As, Sheldon Muscat out of nowhere, a 1:47.784 from the Mercedes. Oh, that's a brilliant lap time. Muscat is the one to beat yet again in qualification as we're in the second half of our Italian doubleheader. Last week at Misano, here at Monza. That was an impressive lap time there, Nicholas.
Most definitely, but we also have to look through the entire thing here. Of course, Vons lost a little bit of time in the middle of Roggia. I think if he gets that sorted out, he can go a little bit quicker because it seems like such a small mistake to make, but you just kill all of the momentum that you carry into the corner. And that's at least 2 or 3 tenths, I would say. But yeah, Muscat once again showing that he can really place that car well. And right behind him, we have Merceka, and of course Simon Speth as well in the Lambo.
Yep. Speth was running in the Ferrari last time out at Misano, along with teammate Sergio Mendes, who has yet to set a comparative lap time. Speth put in a 1 minute 48.291. That puts the German driver into P4 now, as Plivac makes it a Falterbach 1-2, courtesy of the number 6 Mercedes. So Muscat, but then Waffle in the Lexus brings another manufacturer to the party. Vons goes top. So you were spot on there, Nicholas, with your assessment there and analysis. And Vons puts it on provisional pole with just over 9 minutes and a quarter still to go. Waffle rounding out the top 4 positions.
Speth to second place, though, with the Lambo.
It's changing all the time. I think we knew it was going to be close. We didn't realise that the times. I think probably when we get to the last 5 minutes here, Nicholas, we're going to have a lot of times tumbling. And then you've got the likes of Cassis Salu, Luke Whitehead. I did say watch out for him. He's just put at P4 in the 5:57 and a 1:47.889. That basically, I'm wondering what Vons's lap time was, because that. Look at that, a 1:47.433. Holy cow.
Yeah, that is quite fast, one could say. So, yeah.
Well, I have to say a big shout out to my good friends at Sim Sport Racing, who've just wished us a very good evening. Hope you're all well, guys. Looking forward to being back with you. I think it's tomorrow night I'm back with them again. So they also run on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. Track temperature is very crucial here as well, Nicholas. 30 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and the sun beaming down here at Monza. And that's really putting in those lap times. But when you think about it, Vons to Whitehead is around a 0.4 of a second differential. We knew the BMW was going to be quick, but not that quick.
Well, if you have a little bit less fuel, of course, you're going to get a bit more pace out of the car, but Vons just really knows how to move that car. And is that another improvement? Yes, it is. 47.190.
Okay, well, Speth is just about across the line. He goes second with the... He's 0.4 off. That is absolutely inhuman, that time from Marek Vons in the number 91 BMW. Oh, my goodness. I mean... And we've still got just under half the session to go. Oh, Aussie loses it. Smacks the barriers off of the Ascari chicane. Oh, that was definitely a new Nomex moment there for Tom Otti.
Yeah, and that is just one of the big difficulties as well. Some cars can tackle those curbs better, some can tackle those curbs less good, as we just saw from the Mercedes of Otti. And one of the cars that can tackle high curbs a lot better is, for example, actually, we jump from one car that can do it well to the next one, because the Bentley and the Lexus can tackle those curbs a little bit better than the Mercedes.
Yeah, the Mercedes are very, very characteristically a very, very low slung car in terms of its shock absorber and suspension setup. And there is not much ground clearance at the bottom of these GT3 cars. But as you say, Nicholas, that these cars tend to take it a bit more in their stride. As Kun Sabo, now Muscat is back out on the circuit. His best lap. Oh, he nearly uses the back end to the left-hand side going through the second Lesmo. And there's the Mercedes doing the synchronized... that's the first Lesmo. My apologies there. Muscat loses it. And then another Mercedes decides to... have a bit of a tank slapper from the rear end, not just through Lesmo 1, but Lesmo 2 as well. Oh my goodness, they're pushing like crazy out there.
Yeah, I think Muscat got a little bit surprised by the sudden burst of pace of Vons. Because, once again, just a big slide there, and I think if he wanted to try and get the tires on temperature, he's gotten that done pretty well, especially for the rear end. But, of course, repeated sliding and all that, the tire temperatures will shoot up exponentially with that.
Yeah, and tires, definitely one of the things you really, really need to keep on your side, because any moment, as Luca Tosato in the... now this is a team that I haven't seen in the livery in quite a while. The Orange One Triple F Racing team running in the 563 Lamborghini Huracan. Rosato currently in 5th place, and he's running in the 147s, not too far off of Sheldon Muscat as we go to Yanor in the 32, running in the Team Parker Racing colours. Team Parker Racing, known within British GT circles. And it's getting rather interesting at the top of the field, isn't it? I mean, Matrus in the Lexus 105 rounds out the top 10. And that thunderous roar of that Bentley, that's glorious.
Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. I remember in 2015, there was still the old Bentley, of course, but I was there as a marshal in the pit lane for the ADAC GT Masters. And my friend and I were just standing right at the entry point of the pit lane where they engaged the pit limiter, and that Bentley, just this bubbling, this roaring of the V8, even like at 60 kilometers an hour, it vibrates through your entire body, and it's just a feeling like no other.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I was at the 6 Hours of Silverstone in 2014, reporting as one of the journalists in the paddock, and I remember just like when the GT cars came roaring through. I wasn't bothered about the LMPs. Okay, yeah, there was Audi with their silent, R18 TDI Ultras and all that kind of stuff, and then the Toyotas and the Porsches and all that. And that was the weekend where Mark Webber actually in his first ever sports car race secured a podium after leaving Formula One. But just hearing the cars, the GT cars just rumble and then literally pick up speed going down the main straightaway, I think I just had one of those moments, where you just sort of you stop and you do absolutely nothing for about 30 seconds, and it just puts the hairs up on the back on end on the back of your neck. And as you both and I would say, because we both have, well, you're German, I've got German descent, Gänsehaut pur, as they would say in Germany. So I had to throw a little bit of different linguistics here on World Pro Racing, but at least it's basically goosebumps ahoy, effectively.
Yeah, most definitely, and especially at the WEC, of course. I was there the first time in 2015, so the last year of the 458 GTE. Mm-hmm. So good old screaming, naturally aspirated V8, which you could hear from the other side of the village at La Source. So, yeah, motorsports is a beautiful thing. While we were reminiscing, though, Lamborghini has solidified themselves very firmly in the top 5.
Yes, they have. Speth in second, Tosato and Mendez. So that's 3 Lamborghinis in the top 5 with Marek Vogt, 91 BMW leading the way. Max Waffel leading the charge for Lexus in P5 ahead of Sheldon Muscat, Luke Whitehead, Plivac, then we got Mikhail and the number 27 Ferrari rounding out the top 9, and then we got the number 2 Ferrari rounding out the top 10. As we switch to Luke Whitehead, someone else has straight-lined the Rettifilio and has done a bit of a Matthias Ekstrom and has gone grass tracking. I'm sorry, you can't do any sort of EKS action around here at Monza because the track's not configured to that, nor is the car that you're driving an Audi S1, whoever that was. But I digress. But it's looking really, really feisty with the 3 Lamborghinis, really trying to put the frighteners on Marek Vons. And Simon Speth really doing a good job out there, as is Tosato and Mendez. So we've still got just over 60 seconds remaining in the session here, Nicholas. It's still all to play for anyway. Yeah,
of course, people will now have to do their last-ditch efforts. For Waffel, he has to pray that people will not find too much time, because, of course, he's at the end of the top 5. Of course, the third row is a very nice starting place, not too many cars in front, and if there's an emergency, you can still always take the escape route, because, you would lose time through the escape route, but losing a little bit of time through that is, of course, much preferable to an accident, of course, which would give you minutes of damage, perhaps.
Yeah, because there is a Jaguar actually following Luke Whitehead that had a bit of a moment. I think 2 wheels on the grass heading towards Ascari, and I was just trying to make out who that was just there, but just under 20 seconds to go. Luke Whitehead will get another flying lap in, but we'll just have to see, as Tosato and Waffel have called it a day for qualifying. Luke Whitehead crosses the stripe, stays 7th. That was a 1:48.8. His best effort was a second quicker. Jan Rilla in the triple three, running in the 1:48.4s, running out the top 13. Sergio Mendes, he's running in the 1:47.6s as his best lap time. So whether he could probably get the run on Tosato and Speth, but the time is fast running out for the Spaniard. Oh, 2 wheels on the dirt there for the Spaniard going through the Lesmos. But Whitehead still has an opportunity.
If Whitehead is on pace, I would also look out for that Jaguar right behind him, because the Jaguar, of course, it doesn't have all too much downforce. I would argue it's the oldest car on the grid here, actually. I think the original car was first homologated in 2009, 2010, if I'm correct.
I think you might be right there. I will check the GT3 Oracle on that one, which means basically Google it. But we want to make sure that our facts for you people watching, thank you very much for joining us. Mendes will now come across the line, the roar of that fantastic Lamborghini power plant. 2nd position. Brilliant job there by Mendes, but not enough to pip Marek Vons in for pole position, but a great effort nonetheless. Wow.
Yeah, really strong lap time at the end, firmly placing himself on top of the Lambo pyramid there. And of course, session is over now, so he's going to be very happy with that, I think.
Yes, indeed. So Marek Vons takes pole position here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Despite the best efforts of Sergio Mendes in the dying stages there, Nicholas, Tosato and Speth, looking really, really good. Luke Whitehead could have a good start. Obviously, starting from 7th, the lower end of the top 10. But we've discussed this already in the broadcast that going into Rettifilio for the first time, braking from over 250 kilometers an hour all the way down the gearbox, something's got to give. And we know that 3 or 2 into 1 doesn't necessarily go.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And Marek Vons, he did put in an impressive qualifying lap. However, he has to remember now as well, he has a turbo car. And of course, from these speeds of around 70 kilometers an hour that they start at on the formation lap, the naturally aspirated cars are definitely still a force to be reckoned with. And he's surrounded by them. 3 Lamborghinis with V10s. And I think he will have to have absolutely smashing reflexes or a lot of luck to completely stay ahead unopposed.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the biggest turning point will be after the Rettifilio going in and then into Della Roggia for the first time. That's where the pace really gets set and who is really going to sort of come out on top going into the first lap. But we have a half-hour sprint race, and there they all are. Marek Vons will be joined by Sergio Mendes on the front row, Simon Speth and Tosato on row number 2, Waffel and Muscat with Whitehead and Plivac. Then we've got Mikhail in the number 27, and then we've got the number 2 Ferrari rounding out the top 10. A whole host of GT3 machinery there, and it looks to be rather an exciting one. We've got just under 25 seconds until the session starts. Track temperature once again has increased, and in terms of the tyres here, Nicholas, the cars do have to really be pushed to the limit, but the drivers also have to do that bit of tyre conservation at the same time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Of course, these tyres normally live through, up to 3 hours. But of course, they are quite vulnerable if he starts to overpush them. And of course, especially at these high speeds, at this just average, I would say, fastest Grand Prix circuit in the world, you don't really ever have time to cool them down.
Yeah, so they are making them go through to the Parabolica, a short rolling start being initiated here. So Vons from Mendes, Speth, Tosato, Waffel, Muscat, Whitehead and Plivac. That is your top 8 drivers, a whole host of GT3 machinery. Who is going to get the jump? Who is going to really nail it going into the Variante del Rettifilio for the first time here at Monza? GT3 casual race, World Pro Racing, set to get underway. Lights are red. Do we go green? First time of asking, we do. Great start by Mendes, absolutely timed it to perfection. Speth and Tosato closing on Vons, heading into the Rettifilio chicane. I think Mendes, yes, he's pulled ahead. He's absolutely blasted past that that BMW, and it looks like, no, Vons very quickly on the brakes, and I think Mendes just decided discretion was the better part of valor. Muscat trying to get side by side there with the likes of Waffel for 5th place, but Marek Vons, going into the Curva Grande for the first time, leads the field.
Also, no bigger crashes through the entire first chicane, so very good behavior from everyone. I think Mendes just sort of threw away an advantage that he had there. A bit too early on the brakes. Of course, you want to be careful then. Oh, that is Speth hitting the anti-cup there.
Yeah, Luke Whitehead now up into 5th position. Waffel down, and it's Speth has lost out big time. Speth all the way down. That is going to be 7th position. If he's not careful, that is the case. So Simon Speth, 3rd place last time out at Misano. As we got the South African of Adrian Matrus in the 105 running out the top 28. Oh! Big slide off of one of the first Lesmos. Oh! Monza does not disappoint, and it always excites as they head down under their fantastic bridge through into the Ascari chicane. And already, oh, it's a 3-way scrap out of the Ascari. 2 Lamborghinis and a Mercedes, and profiting through all of that was Sheldon Muscat. Brilliant job there from the GT Omega Esports Racing driver. Fantastically held there.
Yeah, he really just made the best out of the situation. He saw the cars fighting ahead, and I think Tosato actually ended up in the wall there. The timing just hasn't quite renewed itself yet. But yeah, Fons, he really just got very lucky there because for some reason the Lamborghinis decided to give up on their advantage and start fighting each other.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things. It will always be pride before a fall, as Whitehead now is up into 3rd place, and Tosato, as you say, he's in the pits. You were right. You were very much spot on there, Niklas. He's now down in the pits, and that is possibly his race done and dusted within the first 3 minutes. So Luke Whitehead trying to chase down Sheldon Muscat has got Sergio Mendes and Max Waffel not too far behind. Simon Speth in the number 10 Lamborghini rounds out the top 6 ahead of Mikael in the 27 Ferrari. Plivac, Noto and Ryla in the 333. We now go on board with Sergio Mendes, as you can now hear this glorious 5.2 litre V10 naturally aspirated beast roar its way around Autodromo Nazionale di Monza.
Just a wonderful sound to hear, and it's a very nice little, well, it's a Lamborghini, well, not a Lamborghini sandwich, but a Lexus sandwich with Lamborghini bread. So V10, V8, V10.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got an M-Power turbo V8 0.4 V8, and then you got the absolutely Leviathan-esque Falterbach power plant. As that was very, very wide there from Waffel coming out of Ascari. Speth still keeping within touching distance, figuratively, not literally speaking, as they head down towards the Parabolica corner here at Monza. As it's Bentley versus Ferrari. Oh, and there's a wild Jaguar in the mix. That's Michael Martin from Wales in the number 24. He was the one that was a bit further behind one of the other cars in qualifying, but Villa looks to have got the upper hand, and that is on Noto in the 504, as now the pure pace of the Jaguar makes it 3 abreast. And that is for 9th position on the road. Great driving by some of the people towards the sharp end of the grid. And that is, I think Martin might have the job done. No, he doesn't. Rilla shuts the door. Piardi looking to close on him.
He made it past the Bentley just fine. Definitely used the slipstream of Rilla definitely to his advantage. But now, once again, in the slipstream of the Ferrari and going to look for the inside now. That's a collision.
Yeah, we've had a couple of cars come together, one of them being the Ferrari. Let's have a look at the replay here. So down into the Rettifilio, and it is the number 21 Ferrari. So let's just keep with them at the minute. There's a lone Lexus just behind, and I think the Lexus is going to go up the inside. Or no, the Ferrari banzais it up the side. And tags one of the other Ferraris. The Nissan's got nowhere to go. Oh, dramas at Rettifilio. We did say this, Nicholas, that it was all about the three. You said it rightly. The three Hail Marys. And I think it was 1,000, 1,000. I'm not going to get to 3 on this one. And Tosato and Vakrum have got a stop-go 30 from the automated servers on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Sheldon Muscat, I did say about the dark horse that is Luke Whitehead. This is a repeat of what we had at Misano last week. So Whitehead being very, very strategic here, Nicholas, using the slipstream, because that means that Muscat is doing all the hard work.
Yeah, I think if Whitehead can just stay behind, well, I mean, he doesn't have to save fuel, but, just stay behind, not fight him, and just trust in Muscat not making mistakes. He can just stay comfortably behind, and then at the end of the race, of course, it's still 20 minutes to go, but, basically just, basic rule of thumb, at the end of the race, just, make the move and be done with it. And right now, it is working like that, because that is a quite sizable gap between him and Mendes.
Yeah, so Ressa in the number 25 Nissan was the one that had nowhere, that literally flew it up the inside, tried to do a Daniel Ricciardo at Monza, didn't quite work out. 23 minutes and 37 seconds still to go. And you can just see that Fonsa's got a bit of a lead as Max Walfel and Simon Speth are now closing on Sergio Mendes for 4th position. But look at Whitehead. He's doing like you're saying, Nicholas. He is using that strategy and he's making sure it's not happening.
Yeah, he sees the 3 cars battling right behind him, and he's thinking to himself probably, well, if I start battling Sheldon now, both of us will lose time, and that way we'll get involved into a 5-way battle. So maybe they're just hoping that together, just working together like this, maybe Fons will just get a little bit unconcentrated and lose a bit of focus, because the gap isn't growing as much anymore as it was at the start. Or they're just trying to secure this 2nd and 3rd place here.
Right, well, Vieira got to stop and go for an incident on Vakrum. And Titus there, as there is Mendes. Mendes off into the barriers. Oh, goodness me. Sergio Mendes coming a cropper. Now he's got Max Waffel right on the back bumper. This is on the run down to Parabolica. And look, Waffel right in the toe of the Ferrari. They're going to now make their way down into the corner. Oh, Waffel! Oh, that was outbreaking, and he's touched the back of Mendes, and the left front corner hits the barriers. I think Mendes was very, very lucky, because that could have been an even harder hit if the car had gone in backwards there.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, front-end damage, especially at high-speed tracks, front-end damage, you would rather welcome that instead of rear-end damage, because high-speed understeer is a bit more easy to manage than high-speed oversteer.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not one good turn deserves another. And in many respects, that was really unfortunate for Sergio Mendes. 5th last week in Misano. So, unfortunately, the Spaniard's going to have to get rid of the salt from his wounds and pick himself up. He's back out. He's actually in the pits. As Mikael in the number 27 Ferrari now closing on the Lamborghini of Simon Speth in the number 10, heading down into the Ascari chicane.
Yeah, making good progress so far. Of course, one of the more popular faces as well, especially through all these casual races we had in GT Sport, and of course the HyperX Endurance Championship, the last championship which just barely finished, where he also finished in the top 3. So just overall, very, very impressive stuff from him. Not everyone can make that adjustment so easily, but he's doing it like it's nothing. And a couple positions further up ahead, maybe, because Whitehead is a bit closer now, maybe he will have a think about if he actually wants to make a move or not.
I think he's got to sort of just put the feelers out, really, on Sheldon. Muscat runs wide. He's cut the corner. And Waffel gets a 20-second stop-go penalty for the incident with Mendes. So Muscat effectively has to relinquish that position. That was advantage. Unfortunately, I think he just went a bit too hot in there. I'm wondering if he's having a possible tyre issue like he did have at Misano. It is a lot of stop-start on the accelerator and the brakes here at Monza, Nicholas. I would very much hope that you'd agree. Yeah, the back end stepped out. I think that Muscat, he's having to work with tyres that might have started to drop away after the first 10 minutes because this is a full-out sprint race. There's no tyre stops in this one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is the big difficulty as well, of course. You have to get the tire pressures absolutely perfectly right here. At high temperatures, of course, it's more predictable than at low temperatures. And as it's 2 p.m. on the server right now, we will not have too radically changing temperatures. But of course, if you just take a few of those sausage curbs a bit too much, you can get tire damage. And maybe Sheldon Scott Muscat is looking at a slow puncture as well.
Yeah, possibly. I think we saw it in, a little bit earlier on that he struggles with the back end. And especially one of the biggest things here is with the aero setup on these GT3 cars. If you're running a low setup in terms of downforce, that's where the car's going to struggle. It's going to break traction at the rear end. It could possibly bring in a little bit of chronic understeer going through certain corners, particularly like, say, Della Roggia, the two Lesmos. So that could be where Sheldon might be struggling a little bit. It will be quite interesting to find that out as Marek Vons still leads. Whitehead second, Muscat, Speth, and then Mikhail in the number 27, as Vaffel now serving his stop-go penalty as number 2 of Palmay in the Ferrari, trying to go side-by-side with a Lexus there. That's Cassis-Salu, and so the number 2 Ferrari has got past. Then we got Gemello, Jamsalan and Cisco rounding out the top 17.
So no resistance there whatsoever from Cassis-Salu. But now another person in the Ferrari looking for a move here. Can't quite get it done yet. Maybe pulled out a little bit too early. I think you'd rather pull out at the end of Curva Grande there to get a move done. Or maybe he's just waiting for the back straight instead and just try to ensure that he's close. But of course, looking past that huge BMW.
Oh my goodness me!
Yeah,
that was
Cisco.
Cisco went absolutely tail happy coming out of Della Roggia, and that could have meant that he caught it. Well held, Paolo Cisco from Italy in running in the Italian Tricolore. The BMW, an absolute weapon in the hand of Marek Vons, but for Paolo Cisco, not exactly the best day in the office or best evening. Fast approaching, just over 2 minutes to go until we hit halfway on the timer of this 30-minute casual sprint race for GT3 on Assetto Corsa Competizione here live and uninterrupted on World Pro Racing. A big thank you for everyone that are watching on the relevant streams. That was another BMW again. That might have been Cisco once more as Jamsalan trying. That was Morgan. That was Morga. So Cisco. So Jamsalan was trying to go past Gemello in the 74. They're at it again going through Parabolica. And this is where the Ferrari could really start to get the edge on the BMW. M-Power twin turbo versus naturally aspirated Maranello V8 power. And they've got a Lexus of Cassis-Salu just up ahead. So this is the battle for 13th position, and Palmay in the number 2 Ferrari just up ahead of them.
Just quick correction, this Ferrari of course is now twin turbo powered as well, with the 488.
Yeah, the 458. I got there. Ferrari seems to be doing what BMW do as well and follow the lead, but the Ferrari looks a lot more purchased here at Monza, especially with the fact that the Ferraris are pretty well known for their power delivery, and obviously the cars very heavily derived from their road-going counterparts.
Now, of course, the one thing that I think the Ferrari has here, it's a bit more of a downforce car than the BMW. Overall, the BMW, it does well at low downforce tracks because it doesn't provide as much downforce. And having heard a little bit of feedback from people who drove this car in real life, actually explains a little bit as well what Cisco just did. The car under low speed, it doesn't quite have a lot of traction. It doesn't really want to turn too much, so it tends to understeer more at high speed. But at these very high-speed corners where you just don't need too much downforce, you don't need too much rotation, that is why it's doing so well at the Nordschleife in real life. You know, you don't really have too many corners where you just need too much rotation. The corners are all a little bit wider, they're a little bit faster, so the BMW can really just rely on its pure power there.
Right, okay, a development here. Luke Whitehead was running second ahead of Sheldon Muscat. He has now dropped to 5th position. In the number 557. Cisco needs to serve that drive-through within 3 laps. And that was for the lap 1 incident on Tom Ottey. So Paulo Cisco getting a drive-through as a result of that. And there is Gemello in the number 74. And the front end has definitely been squished in a little bit. And this is heading through towards Parabolica. I think this is probably where he's at. Look, the car's just gone to the right-hand side. Oh! Now, I'm wondering, that doesn't look normal. I'm wondering if Gemello actually had a technical problem resulting in that, because that car started veering to the right very, very abruptly there.
I think that might have already been damaged. I think if he got very, very unlucky through turn 10, so the last left-hander at Ascari, he might have tried to take a bit too much curb, rear end jumps up, and he just goes straight head-on into the wall, because that's what that damage looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Michael Martin, the Welsh driver, in the number 24 Jaguar XKRS GT3, closing on Gergely Kunsabo from Hungary in the number 12 Lexus. But then Piardi in the number 11 Bentley is actually keeping pace with Martin. Oh, Martin comes out a little bit squirrely through the latter part of the Ascari chicane, and the Bentley right in the slipstream of the Jaguar. This is going to be very, very close as Piardi goes towards the outside of the Parabolica. Martin takes the tighter line, and that will allow Piardi to try and sweep back in. He's going to take a little bit more of the AstroTurf on the outside to try and get the run of momentum. Get in the slipstream of Martin, down towards the Rettifilio. 13 minutes and 7 seconds still to go on the clock here on the casual race at Monza. And Martin in that Jaguar showing it's got a good amount of power and a good amount of straight line speed here.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, quite a lot of high-speed stability. But of course, the Jaguar it's quite well known in ACC here. And of course, you know, no doubt because it's an older car that ran for quite some time. 2018 was the last time it got run. It doesn't have that optimized levels of traction, and of course, comparatively very primitive ECU and traction control. So it's definitely, you basically have to wrestle it around the circuit like a Porsche Cup car, basically.
Yeah, I think that's very much the case as we go on board with Adam Plutch in the number 6 Black Falcon Mercedes, currently running in 8th position behind Rilla in the number 333 Ferrari. So this is the battle for 7th position as they now head into the far part of the circuit. So this is where and it looks like Plivac has also secured a little bit of damage. The front part of that bonnet looking a little bit blowing in the wind, so to speak. Track temperature currently 31 degrees Celsius, air temperature 23 on the server, server time 2:21 p.m. And you can just see how hard, even after the fact that we've got just over 21 and a half minutes of this race still, 21 and a half minutes of this race, 19 or so minutes completed, 11 minutes 21 still to go. Marek Vons, Nicholas, has been absolutely dominant so far in this race from lights out when Mendes tried to get the jump on the start. But Vons, this has been absolutely recalcitrant. He's given absolutely no quarter to anybody on this field.
Yeah, most definitely. He showed insane pace in qualifying, and he just showed throughout this entire race, well, this is not just one lap pace, my friends. I can also do this for a whole 20 minutes so far. And of course, he got helped a little bit by the fact that people behind him started fighting more and more and more, and got involved with a few slowdowns, with a few scratches, and in some cases, of course, big accidents as well. But what is the old saying again from Ron Dennis? To finish first you have to finish?
Very, very true. If anyone might remember that when the one made debut at Le Mans, that definitely finished first, and it finished in quite dramatic style as well. Shadow Muscat still rounding out the top two, with Simon Speth in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo rounding out the top three, as we have just over a third of this race to go, running up towards 20 minutes completed, 10 to go. Don't forget, if you want to join us here on World Pro Racing, why not follow us on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. If you're watching on the World Pro Racing YouTube channel, don't forget to give this video a like, a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and also make sure you hit the notification bell to let you know about any forthcoming races. We've got 2 more this week, with the GT3 casual race at Dragon Tail on GT Sport this coming Thursday, and the World Pro Racing ACC Sprint Series, the first of 5 rounds, gets underway at Silverstone this coming Friday evening. All times are Central European time, so both programs will start at 8:30 in the evening. And it looks like Whitehead is closing on the number 27 Ferrari of Mikhail there, as Casisalu coming up from Raffaello Morga in the... Well, that's not. That's one of the BMWs. My apologies there. That's the thing with these Italian tricolore liveried BMWs. It's sort of like confusing me a little bit. But Casistalu had a bit of a difficult one at Misano. It looks to be the same here at Monza. But out of the drivers so far, Nicholas, who's really impressed you out of them? Because I mean, Marek Von's, blisteringly quick in qualifying, and now getting away from everybody else, like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof. He's gotten away. He's got the job done with 8.5 minutes remaining. But who out of the rest of the field has really impressed you this evening?
Quite honestly, one of the most impressive drivers in the field, I'd say, is Michael Martin, with that Jaguar in 10th place, because he made up quite a few places. Of course, benefited from trouble of other drivers, but to keep that car at the pace of Kunsabo ahead and ahead of Piardi right behind him, those two are not slow drivers at all. Their fastest laps, of course, are also a little bit faster. I think around half a second faster. But to wrestle that Jaguar, and I know how hard it is to wrestle that Jaguar around the circuit at the pace of modern GT3 cars, to wrestle it so consistently without any big missteps, that really is a very respectful task.
Yeah, so Martin has been running at best 1 minute 49.4. That's a 1:49.1, his fastest lap of the race so far. Brilliant job. And look at the speed climbing. He's going to hit about 280 kilometers an hour. Oh, look how deep he was on the brakes, using Kunsabo as a yardstick, as a marker, going through into the Rettifilo chicane. That Jaguar has truly started singing well and truly here at Monza, and I think Kunsabo knows his 9th place is well and truly under threat.
Yeah, most definitely. Martin could have basically just stuck a ruler at the front of his car, and just for that gap between his car and Kunsabo. And yep, that is pretty close on the braking, and he stays there right now. So just really fun to watch that. And I have to say, I'm a huge Jaguar fan, so it's fantastic to see that car driving so quickly around the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends has got an absolute classic of an XKR S, which is kept undercover. It's done next to no kilometers on it, and it's absolutely factory fresh. It's like his cherished little toy. And to see that car at the pace it is at the moment, I mean, he's lost a little bit of ground to Kunsabo at the moment, who is now that is Pluach just up ahead. So the number 6 Mercedes starting to struggle a little bit in the dying stages of the race. 6.25 minutes to go here at Monza. And this is where the battle's really going to intensify. But keep your eyes on Piardi. I think this could end up being a 4-way scrap for what is effectively going to be de facto 8th place at the end of the 30-minute sprint here at Monza. Piardi running a little bit wide there, taking a different line to everybody else, who takes a tighter apex. And now Kunsabo right in the slipstream of Pluach.
Now those two side by side, and of course they'll have to watch out because there's another 2 cars right behind them, but that is actually quite a lot of slingshot that Kunsabo got there, and he's clear pass before they even reach the braking zone.
That was impressive from Kunsabo. I think probably the slipstream gives you the opportunity maybe about a 5 to 10 kilometre an hour advantage, as Casisalu and nearly come to door panel blows, heading towards the Rettifilio, but Morga gets ahead, but Casisalu unrelenting, and he tanks the left rear, going through into the braking zone, but greatly held on by Raffaello Morga in the number 60, in the number 51 Ferrari, as now Plivac coming under fire from Martin this time. So I think Plivac is suffering with a little bit of damage as a result of that front end there, Nicholas.
Yeah, maybe so. But it could also just as well be the Mercedes on some tracks is a bit more aggressive on the tires. And of course, just generally, there's... Well, to just bring a bit of context, most GT3 cars, of course, the downforce, as we have the Jaguar now making a move, and I'm not going to interrupt that. Absolutely very nice textbook move there from Michael Martin, getting the Jaguar up into P9 now. But as I was about to say, most of the downforce of these cars, the downforce balance changes, it's made through rakes, so the right height difference between front and rear, and of course the rear wing. But there are two cars in this that actually have a front downforce adjustment, which are the Porsche and the Mercedes. And the Mercedes has, I think, 11 or 12 steps, so you can quite nicely tune that without too much of straight line speed loss. And I think some of these people here, some of our drivers in this race, maybe took a little bit too much front downforce. We saw a lot of power sliding, and maybe that is just their downfall because of too many slides going on.
Yeah, as Piardi gets round the outside before the Rettifilio on Plivac, as Martin nearly loses out himself because he had a bit of a moment coming through the second half of the chicane. Piardi's going to plant it round the outside through Curva Grande. I think Plivac senses an opportunity, but Martin keeps the Jaguar going through into Della Roggia, but Piardi looking to go up the inside through with the Bentley. They tag door panels. Plivac looking to steal a march on Martin. Martin loses out by hitting the sausage curb through the exit of Della Roggia, and there is a big flash of headlights from Martin towards Piardi, as if to say, sunshine, I'm sorry, mate, that's not on. And moment from the back end, stepping out to the left-hand side for the Jaguar. Martin was up into 9th place. He's now down into 10th, and Plivac in the number 6 Mercedes chasing him down with just under 3 minutes on the clock to go.
Yeah, definitely not the kind of maneuver that you want in the role of Michael Martin in the last couple of minutes. But of course, right behind him again. And yeah, he was completely alongside in the braking zone. But of course, that Bentley is just an absolutely humongous car, basically like the BMW. And at that tight of a part of the circuit as Roggia, there's just not much other place to go.
Yeah, very much the case, as Luke Whitehead, in the meantime, been busy at work and nearly has a bit of a moment coming through the second half of the Rettifilio chicane, but he's running in the 148.3s. That Lexus has got some pace behind it, so maybe the Lamborghinis might be struggling a little bit in the latter stages of this race, as it is Jamsaran versus Palmai for 12th position. Jamsaran towards the outside going into the Rettifilio. They are side by side, the two 488 GT3s. Who's going to be the brave one on the brakes? It is the number 17 who gets the inside run for the next corner. But Palmai puts it round the outside and still keeps going. But the number 17 Ferrari now trying to make it side by side, looks to power around the outside of Curva Grande and gets through for 12th position. No, not quite. Palmai trying to get back at him as they now head towards Della Roggia. Just under 90 seconds of the race remaining here at Monza. But, Jamsaran makes a bit of a mistake through the second part. Nearly loses the back end, which kicks out to the left-hand side. Wow, that's a great dice. Great spatial awareness between the two as Palmai rockets around the outside, going towards the first Lesmo.
Yeah, definitely. Both of them just giving each other all the space they need. Very nice to see such respectful driving from the two of them, but still race on the limit, of course. So that's very, very good to see. Earlier as well, when we saw the move between, I think it was Consabo, no, actually it was Morga and Casisalu on the straight. You know, there was a little bit of kissing on the cheek there on the straight, but no bigger contact. And as soon as they felt the contact, of course, sorry, mate, didn't want to intrude there, just leave a bit more space.
Yep, so we're just coming in towards the tail end. Looks like Marek Vons has gone on the final lap of the GT3 casual race here on World Pro Racing at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, as Jamsran and Palmai are at it again. Jamsran runs a little bit wide coming through the corner, and the number 2 Ferrari keeps ahead for the minute on the number 17 as they will cross the line with just under 10 seconds on the clock remaining.
Last lap definitely, and Jamsran already pulling very early out of the slipstream. And of course, Palmai already covering it off. No side-by-side action this time, but also just generally, I think, that is actually contact there with the BMW.
Yeah, that was one of the Ferraris there, I think I just spotted. So the timer has hit 0, that's Raffaele Morga. And that could be either Cisco or Gemello that is behind the number 51 Ferrari, who currently rounds out the top 14 positions. But it has been a race of dominance. Pole position in qualifying as Marek Vons in the number 91 TPC Sim Racing BMW M6 GT3 now heads towards the far part of this. He's actually coming round the Parabolica. Checkered flag waves, a new winner here on World Pro Racing GT3 casual race here at Monza, breaking the streak of Jens-Niklas Ebrich, who won the last 2 races on the trot. Sheldon Muscat will take 2nd position, and for the 2nd race in succession, congratulations to Simon Speth, this time in Lamborghini. Rounding out the top 3. Luke Whitehead, close but no cigar for a podium. Mikhail, the number 27 Ferrari, will take 5th place ahead of Noto. Rylo in the 333, and here's Kunsabo in the number 12 Lexus, who will take 8th position. And it looks like Piardi will take 9th place in the Bentley, and Michael Martin in the number 24 will round out the top 10. But what a dominant display there, Nicholas, by Marek Vons. In the number 91 BMW. Absolutely untouchable this evening.
Not a foot put wrong, just everything done right. And even at the start, he kept strong nerves. And, the strong assault from the Lamborghinis was completely deflected. And he turned that into his advantage, actually, because they turned the assault into each other instead. And, what can I say except congratulations, Marek Vons. Fantastic drive. No mistakes.
Indeed. So what a race. A fantastic 30-minute encounter at the end of our double header. We're going to get speaking with some drivers, but I think Marek Vons was the standout performer. We want to know from you people out there watching on TVM Sport in Malta, ESTV, Esports Television, Motorsport.tv, and also on the World Pro Racing channels, our streams on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Don't forget, if you are watching on any of the latter 3 that I've just called out, make sure you give this video a like. And if you're watching on YouTube, why not hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. But, Michael Martin, I think he was the standout performer there, Nicholas, in the Jaguar. Still managed to get into the top 10 at the end of it all. Could have got as high as 8th, but try as hard as he might. I think the Jaguar just ran out a bit of puff at the end of it all.
Yeah, of course, sliding a lot at low speeds, and that will take its toll on the tires, which it undoubtedly did at the end. You could see him just sliding even into the corners as well, just missing some apexes. Or maybe the nerves just went a little bit too hot, wanted to get a little bit too much out of the car. And the Jaguar was like, excuse me, but I don't have that much braking power. So, either way, fantastic performance from him. But, that I could say about basically everyone who has finished today in the top 10, because all around they did very clean races, and it was just a joy to watch all of them.
Okay, well, let's head to our first interview of the evening. I've been wanting to speak to this individual from GT Omega Esports Racing, Sheldon Muscat, our runner-up. Good evening, Sheldon. A lot better of a race for you this time as opposed to what happened in Misano. But Marek Vons truly was the class of the field and managed to get away. Just tell us about your race, because you had some really good battles once again with Luke Whitehead. You battled with tooth and nail last week at Misano.
Hello guys, good evening. How are you?
We're all good, thank you, Sheldon.
So at Misano, yes, I struggled a lot with my rear tires, and then I overheated them, and then it got worse and worse and worse and worse, and then I lost the positions, fell to second, and then fell to third as well because of Whitehead. He had very great pace even today, but I think he spun at turn 2 if I'm not mistaken. Can you confirm that for me?
I'm sure that we'll probably have a look at that during the
Yeah.
highlights a little bit later on. But yeah, we did notice that he did drop to fifth place quite early in the race, and so that's why we were quite. I think both myself and Nicholas were quite taken aback. But good to be back on the podium, wouldn't you say, Sheldon?
Yep, I'm very happy with my result, although I did some mistakes that nearly cost my race at the end because I was pushing to catch Vons, but he had very good pace, I think he had an accident at the last of the race, at the, I think, 29th minute or something like that, and I started catching up, but it wasn't enough. I mean, I was tired as well. I mean, I'm very tired right now because I had a full day of work, so... Yes.
Yeah, it just goes to show that these drivers are pushing the limits, not just doing a day job, but also competing here on World Pro Racing. Sheldon, congratulations on your second place finish here at Monza.
Thank you. And before I go, I would like to thank my sponsors, GT Omega RPM, of my team GT Omega RPM Esports, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, Student Motorsport, World Pro Racing. Of course, they bring us these wonderful races. And that's it from my end. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too, Sheldon. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I think Nicholas will let you have a chat with Simon Speth, our third place result driver from this evening at Monza, 2 for him in a row after Misano.
Yeah,
Simon, I'm glad to have you here. A very good drive from you today. Of course, qualifying was a little bit of a shock with all the other Lambos, of course, going quite fast pace as well. But you were the one who hung on and survived throughout the race. Overall, just how would you rate this race? Do you think you could have done something a little bit better?
Yeah, I was quite happy that I survived turn 1 and the first corners. Like I fell down to P7 because of someone overtaking me on the inside in turn 2. So I was actually quite happy to just survive the first part of the race and get the race going, And then it actually went quite well. Like unfortunately, my teammate Sergio, he got crashed out into Parabolica. So this was again 2 places for me, and then I guess P2 spun in T1. So this again, I got 1 place gifted. So yeah, actually quite interesting race.
Yeah, most definitely. And just overall, you seem to just keep cool nerves through the entirety of it. And even though there were a few very heated situations, especially at the start, just in a very tight pack, just how stressed were you going into turn 1 just at the start with, I think it was the 563 Lamborghini and of course Marek here.
Yeah, you always have to be careful when racing against your 2 teammates. Marek was P1, Sergio was P2, so you try not to make any mistake, braking a little bit earlier. And yeah, just don't do anything wrong, because as you lose the race in the first corner, you do not win it there.
Yeah, that's definitely very wise words from you. Any shout-outs you want to do to sponsors, friends or family?
Yeah, I just want to thank my team, TPC Sim Racing. Really nice guys. We have a lot of fun racing here, and of course your awesome World Pro Racing casual races here. Always very nice to do.
Right, thank you very much, Marek. Simon, sorry.
Don't worry, it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
But ahead of myself.
I think you were definitely right there, Nicholas. But let's turn our attention to our GT3 casual race winner, also from TPC Sim Racing, Marek Vons. Marek, congratulations. Absolutely spectacular performance. You put it on pole position by an absolute country mile and ran away with it, despite the fact that you had the likes of Sergio and Simon chasing you down, amongst others. Just tell us about your race from your perspective.
Hey, good evening, guys. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, viewers all around the world. Well, about the race, I was lucky enough to get a good lap to take it for a pole position. But I have to say that I used a car which I used in a competition a few weeks back, so I had it practiced before. But I have chosen it because of lack of practice for today. But the race, well, seems like BMW doesn't have a good acceleration, so I was pretty easily beaten by both Lampos of Simon and Sergio on the start. But Sergio braked a little bit earlier, so I got to overtake him at the entrance into turn 1. And from then, I was just gaining from the guys behind me, fighting for the positions. And I just was trying to focus, to not lose the focus for the whole race. I almost paid the price with 2 laps to go, and I took a weird line in Ascari, and I had a high curb in Ascari, and almost spun. Cost me 5 seconds, but I'm glad I could save it. But also like Simon mentioned, Sergio paid the price with some dangerous driving of some other people, but glad we could get this result as well. And with Michael Martin on P10, that's a great result for TPC.
Yeah, I think we were all very much the case of saying that Michael is effectively the unofficial driver of the day, probably from both mine and Nicolas's viewpoint here. But also, with regards to Sergio, we did see that there was an incident between himself and Max Waffel, which gave Waffel a 20-second stop-go penalty. But it was a real shame for Sergio because he'd been running in the top 5 at Misano last week. But anyone in particular that you would like to thank apart from your team, Marek?
Yeah, of course. I would like to dedicate this win to our team leader, Sean Clark, because due to some current situation he's going through, cannot talk about it more, but I would like to dedicate it to him, and that's about it. Without him we wouldn't be here, so I guess he's doing well. I mean, I hope he's doing well.
Yes, we wish Sean all the very, very best at TPC Sim Racing. Thank you very much for joining us, Marek, and hopefully we'll see you next time for our casual race next week here on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the race. I'll like to see you next time again. Thank you.
Brilliant. So, Nicolas, first of all, it's been a pleasure working alongside you this evening, Pro Racing. Nice to be in the commentary box, so to speak, virtually, as opposed to getting behind the wheel of your sim rig.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very nice change of pace. Of course, on Friday I'll actually use this to drive, but it was a huge pleasure this evening to be commentating here with you. Absolutely massive fun, and of course, very big experience from you, of course, as a lead commentator, and I'm glad that I could get some of my knowledge in as well.
Well, there you go. Well, that's it for those watching on TVM Sport Malta, Esports Television and Motorsport TV. Once again, us at World Pro Racing, we'd like to thank our partners and sponsors. Obviously, this stream brought to you in association with Melita. Visit Malta.com, Gaming Malta, and HyperX. Don't forget that the GT3 casual race at Dragon Tail this coming Thursday at 20:30 Central European Time. It is a complete sellout, and Nicolas will be one of the many competitors taking part in the opening round 1 out of 5, for the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series this coming Friday. And above all, thank you all for watching. Take care, stay safe wherever you are in the world. Goodbye for now.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI-assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.